'Tis now the very witching time of night, when churchyards yawn and hell itself breaks out contagion to this world. Now I could drink hot blood, and do such business as the bitter day would quake to look on. Soft, now to my mother, O heart, lose not thy nature. Let not ever the soul of Nero enter this firm bosom. Let me be cruel, not unnatural. I will speak daggers to her, but use none. And that is, of course, from Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 2. And my name is Kelly. Thank you so much for watching Books I'm Not Reading. This is my last Shaketube video for 2020 on Hamlet. And last year we read Hamlet as well. And I said something in my last year's video about how I felt like I should read Hamlet every year. And I ended up reading it this one. So I don't want to repeat what I said a year ago about Hamlet. In truth, reading this time around was a very different experience for me. Last year I felt like, God, like my head had just exploded when I read it. I just couldn't believe how great it was. And I think last year I might have been reading the first folio edition. So if you're not familiar, there are 3 different versions of Hamlet. They believe it was first performed between 1600 and 1601, influenced by Icelandic sagas, Greek tragedy, biblical texts. Shakespeare, he's all about stealing stuff from other places. So what's known as the first quarto, and which used to be kind of dismissed as a bad quarto of Hamlet, came out in 1603. It had 2,221 lines. That'd be important to remember that. So the second quarto, which is the one I read this time, came out in 1604, 1605, somewhere in there. It has 4,056 lines. And the first folio came out in 1623, and its version of Hamlet has 3,907 lines. So the second quarto definitely is the longest. But again, we must remember that like Hamlet is a play, and so the directors and the actors are going to make changes to it. If it was performed all the way through, it would be 4 hours long, over 4 hours long, and so there are different editing, choices that people make. So yes, I mean, I will still stand by the fact that we need to see Shakespeare and we need to see it performed, or we need to see film adaptations if we live in a Shakespearean desert like myself. But it is important to remember too to come back to the text and read the whole thing and compare the different versions. So I'm curious about the first quarto now, especially since it's the shortest one. As I said earlier, reading Hamlet in 2020 was very different from reading it in 2019. And I don't know if that has to do with what's going on in our world. I don't know if that has to do with things that are going on in my world. Everyone's healthy, everyone's fine, but it's just very stressful, a very stressful time. So reading Hamlet, and again, I really do think last year I read the first folio edition, and this year I read the second quarto in this beautiful Norton critical edition of Hamlet, and this book has so much in it, so many great resources. So I read part of the introduction this morning, but there's so much in here that I haven't even begun to touch. So that's exciting to me, the idea that every time I return to Hamlet, like there'll be more resources and more things for me to look at. And I also did look at our new complete works of Shakespeare from the Royal Shakespeare Company. So that was fun as well. It felt like I hadn't read Hamlet before. And my husband Jason, as you know, is one of the moderators for Shaketube, and he gets a lot of Shakespeare questions from me every September. And so yeah, again, like this time I was like, what is with this Prince of Norway? Like, what is this? What is that about? And so we have a conversation about that, which I'm pretty sure we had that same conversation last year. But I also this year, which has been really exciting, have been able to talk to some other people, including Allie at Fox Folios, and we didn't talk about Hamlet. We talked about The Taming of the Shrew. And one of the things that she said to me that's really struck through is that Shakespeare doesn't give us answers. He doesn't say, are they in love? Are they not in love? He doesn't say, is Hamlet mad, or is he just pretending to be mad, or does he become mad in the end? Or the fact that every time he enters a room, someone's hiding behind a curtain. I think that would make any of us paranoid. I don't blame Hamlet for some of the things he does, but his speech to Ophelia, he knows that the king is hiding behind the curtain, and how that must change what he says to Ophelia. So anyway, it was wonderful. Again, it's a great play. I stand by what I said last year, that we all need to read Hamlet, and I do regret that it took me so long. I really wish I had taken a class. But I think our Shaketube hosts this year, again, Jason, Old Blues Chapter and Verse, Rainy from Rainy Day Reads, and Lukash at Totally Pretentious, have made us a very long video with their thoughts on Hamlet, so I'm looking forward to that. I was not allowed to sit outside and listen in. Unfortunately, Steve Donahue, the other host, was not able to participate in that, but yeah, so I just feel like of all the plays, as far as questioning goes, this one is the most. Hamlet is, there's so many speeches. People have so many lines to memorize. It's just unbelievable. And I think part of the magic of this is that these characters, and there are so many characters, but a lot of them are much more developed. Actors will always say, there are no small parts, only small actors, right? But sometimes in Shakespeare, there's just like a random character, and we really don't know much about him or what he's doing there or whatever. But there are a lot of characters in Hamlet, and a lot of them we know much more about than we normally do. I mean, when I think about what happens before the play begins, which is the murder of King Hamlet by Claudius, it makes me wonder about how long Gertrude was married to King Hamlet, and like what her marriage was like, and what was it like having her husband's brother in the court as well, and was he just like biding his time? Was he just waiting and stewing and trying to figure out how to kill the king? And what is Gertrude's grief, and why does that suddenly turn around to loving Claudius? Like what is the pivotal point there? There's so much to Gertrude as well that we really don't, again, like it has to be created and brought to life by a character. I think there are so many characters, like Horatio. I love Horatio. And he seems to be the calmest and the most collected of everyone. But what are his thoughts as he's watching all this happen? And how does he experience the events that take place? So if you stop to just look at a story from one person's perspective, not just Hamlet's, but another character and what they see and what they're experiencing, then it can totally change. It can totally change the meaning of it. So yeah. So again, I really, I'm not going to gush as much as I did last year, and I actually took some notes this time, which I don't know why I didn't do that last year. But yeah, so another great experience of reading Hamlet and participating in Shaketube. Thank you so much to the hosts and Lukasha, Totally Pretentious. I am so grateful that you started Shaketube and have inspired me to read Shakespeare. I still feel very much the beginner at this, but I'm so glad that this event exists and that I get to be a part of it. So, all right. Remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I will talk to you very soon, BookTube. Take care.